Look, all I'm saying is I don't see a problem with militias, but it seems like everyone else is going after them. I mean, I'd even dare say they give out more information than the news. Just the other day, I heard one of the guys in the news saying, just shoot them in the head. They go down pretty easy. Everybody got all up in arms when they heard it, but I'll bet that's the first time I've heard anyone say how to stop one of these infected people. I mean, has anybody heard anything other than run and hide or shelter in place, quarantine? I mean, it makes me feel like some odd military guru saying, we didn't do anything and we allowed the opposing army to build up troops, and instead of each of us fighting, we let that army get strong. And I commend these folks for taking the fight to the bad guys. But still, people get mad at me. They say, I can't say that, and I shouldn't say that I somehow feed into it. But what else is there to say? I mean, they want to kill us, right? I mean, I feel like 30, 40 years ago, this wouldn't even be a discussion. There's no conversation here. People would be on their doorsteps, flags in hand, defending their houses. This would be a whole different conversation. And am I wrong in that thinking? Am I crazy? Instead, we're hearing about banning militias. I mean, laws to prevent them from training. It just sounds insane. They call these guys terrorists. When did that happen? I don't know. I just don't know. But it seems to me they're the only ones actually defending anybody. And I'm just gonna say it. They all aren't in the South. These guys are everywhere, and people are taking action. They're not gonna just sit around and let it happen. I mean, some of these Middle America groups, they're already getting pretty active, and unlike big cities, there's really not much you can do to control them. They train when they want. They get together when they want. I mean, they're building their forces together, and I gotta say, it's the first team out there that's putting up any kind of defense whatsoever. So, you know what? I say more power to them. And if I'm wrong on that, I'm sure it'll come back to me later. Everybody's real happy to tell me I told you so when this stuff comes back. But when we're right or our guys say something, it's suddenly, you shouldn't be so haughty about it. You should just kind of take your W and, be magnanimous about it or whatever. This is another one. This right here. This other story ran across, and this is what I'm talking about. It's telling. And this is why I really support these guys doing what they're doing. They call us fringe media, but this is real, and it's mainstream. This is happening. There was an insurance company that stated they weren't going to pay for a claim because the person reported dead was found alive. I mean, I'm really reading this. This is no joke. He was supposedly suffering from the PACE virus, so he wasn't in any condition to explain what happened, obviously. His wife reports him deceased. Well, I guess the hospital did too, but a day later, this guy, shows up at the house. He's walked back under his own power. And I don't know, I could be getting some of this wrong, but this is the way it was explained to me, and the story is still there. Like, they're still saying the wording. I just don't know how it got there, but you know the guy's moving around. Well, anyway, the insurance get winds of it. They send an investigator, and the investigator sees the guy, so they make this claim. They bring it to the DA. They say the guy's walking around. The DA starts threatening to go after the wife for fraud. Now, and this is crazy. The wife is saying, since he doesn't have a pulse, that she should be getting the money. If he doesn't have a pulse, she should be getting the money, and that he is passed. And she plans to take this to court, and even worse, she provided a death certificate. Like, we've seen this guy's death certificate. That's insane. Can you imagine? It's unreal. I don't even know how to explain this to people, that this is a real story that's being told, and here's court papers to explain it. Did somebody make this up? There's some miscommunication here? I feel like I want to tell somebody that there's got to be some kind of wording. What the hell is going on here? I feel like I'm in some Lovecraftian horror film, and I'm gonna wake up and outside instead of being this happy blue sky and everything, it's gonna be some hellscape or something, and I've woke up into the worst thing ever. And obviously there's a problem, but nobody really wants to talk about this. This news story is anywhere close to mainstream media. It's just dead in the water. And I don't think you guys are getting the real story. I don't think you guys are getting exactly what's going on. So maybe they're afraid to give you the real story. I mean, everybody that's said for me when I started talking about this said I was wearing a tinfoil hat. And you know what? Normally, I feel like I am. But I just feel that people can't tell me I'm crazy right now, especially since I've been saying this since it started. This time, I think I'm right. And are these real stories? Are they really happening? I just don't know. I don't have all the answers to this. And that's the thing is I feel like I'm at the front of some wave that's just going to overtake us.
We interrupt this program to bring you the following emergency information. If you are within the southern zone, you are advised to shelter in place at this time. Lock your doors and windows. Avoid contact with anyone you do not know or anyone that you believe to be ill. If you have the following symptoms, report to the nearest civil defense shelter. Severe headache, physical injuries such as a bite from someone you believe is infected, shortness of breath, chest pains. Or if you are in need of life-saving medical care that is unavailable at this time. That has concluded this emergency message. Stay tuned for further announcements.
And obviously, nothing's changed on the campaign trail. The president headed to Colorado, I believe, he's headed to his trail in Colorado for his rally. He's going to be digging up supporters, but oddly enough, scheduled perfectly to move away from the East Coast where all the stuff seems to be happening. So, but just the other day, he stated that the real problems that this occurred was because Republicans have been slow to respond, and if he had the full backing that he wanted from the moment it happened, that this would already be over. I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's exactly the wording that they're saying. And it's true. Democrats have asked for millions in funding already to combat the illness, and it's almost like they knew it was coming. But Republicans push back. They're not willing to release the funds. They're not willing to okay anything. And it's whatever this is hasn't gone for a vote yet. And if you look at the bill, it's just filled with earmarks. It's the whole thing of never let a tragedy go to waste, right? So I see why they're getting pushback, but the news is reporting it the way it is and placing the blame squarely at their feet. Democrats are already asking now for a countrywide quarantine, even in states where there is no reports of infection and nobody's talking about the illness. California is already ready to give that to them and lock down doors and just put people in to get ahead of it. They say if everyone can just hold up for a few days, maybe a week, they can get to work and this will just all blow over. I don't know if that's true or not. California's governor stated the problem was with the drug epidemic, and he has already sent police and even private contractors to these tent cities to clean them out. But still there's no report on what those results they've had happen, or if they even had anything happen at all. There's nothing that's been gathered, and most are saying that drugs aren't the real problem. So, I mean, is it something worse? Republicans responded with a request to shut down air travel on the border, but Democrats were quick to cry racist, saying that no one outside the U.S. has reported sickness. There's no reason to shut down passage outside the U.S. It's literally a stalemate on discussion. And let's be honest, who knows the truth? I'm not even sure anymore. What was supposedly an isolated event is now knocking on people's doors. And I think that's the real problem. The reports that are happening in other places are detached. If it's not happening on your doorstep, it's easy to say it's just not happening, or maybe it's not that bad, and you don't know. Maybe you are accurate, but if you're in an area where these news reports, these messages are happening, and if you can see outside your window and see things going on and see sick people actually walking around, then it's real for you. And otherwise, it's completely unbelievable. I dare I even say apocalyptic. This is how this stuff gets ahead of us, man. It just gets crazy, and we don't know what to do or how to respond. And that's what I've been saying since the moment this happened. Our apathy is going to let this get out of control. If it's not on our backyard, it's going to be somebody else's problem, and few people will do anything about it, and it's going to get too big. It's going to be a tsunami. It's starting off right now as a little tiny snowball. It's going to get bigger and bigger, and these few short hours, we are where we are now. What will it be next month, in a year? Or will there even be anything left in a year? How big can the snowball get? So I was tracking it at the beginning, and I kind of thought about it. So let's say you see this like I think this is how they see it. They see it like just a regular sickness. It's like a regular virus, like a flu or something, and it gets pretty bad at most, I want to say, in like 7 days. Like 2 people get sick, they get 4 people sick, but then you kind of reach this critical mass thing where too many people get sick, and then the computation breaks down. It's why you can't fold a paper more than 7 times, and people just start falling through the cracks. People build up immunities, or the illness mutates and dies off. But you get the point. But what if that isn't the case? What if somehow it's not just being spread like that? What if people are just getting sick for no reason? Like, maybe it is something in the water, or maybe instead of being some illicit drug, it's like a common drug like aspirin or painkillers, or maybe some sort of nasal spray. And it's not that this is just gonna happen, it's gonna double up. It wouldn't just double though, it would add, and then it would split. So, like, bear with me here. They're thinking it's just sick people getting other people sick. But if you think about that, you just need to stay ahead of the newly sick people. So, I mean, it's easy to think you can stay ahead of that. If you've got enough police, if you've got enough first responders, if you got some backup guys, there's some National Guard in there, that math works. But what if that's not all that's getting sick? What if the seed is actually popping up where you least expect it? And the weed, you're spraying parts of the tree, but the weed is really growing someplace else, and it's growing completely out of control because people aren't paying attention there. And that's what's worrying me. I think the point is we're focused on Philadelphia, and Philadelphia isn't my concern. Pittsburgh shouldn't be our concern. Those are cities. Those are easy to report on. Atlanta isn't a concern. It's a big city with tons of cops, tons of, people. The problem is going to be something like rural West Virginia, like this new one in North Carolina. Where did it come from? There's no connection there. It's where there are 2 cops in the whole town, and suddenly you walk into town and everybody are these crazed animals looking to get you sick and add you to the ranks. know, man, that's pretty frightening to even consider. And it hurts my head to think about it. But that literally is, everything is fine. Nothing to see here. And suddenly you wake up and there's this new army outside your house. So an army of sick people. And am I the only person thinking about that? And I have to be, right? Am I crazy for thinking that? I hope not, because if so, I may have already lost it. But then I say, maybe it would be better if I'm crazy, and this is all just not real. It's all in my head. Didn't happen. News 5 was just reporting that the National Guard troops have been activated in almost every state except for, it looks, I think, South Carolina. That's the only one I think has it. But most are stating this is some sort of precautionary measure, that it's, just there for the safety's sake. And some people are calling from the Army and the Marines to be engaged. But I think that's too far. Nobody's going to go full martial law here. And the pushback on the National Guard alone has been immense. But if they're bringing them in, what I was saying before, it just reiterates it. But still, even with that National Guard coming in, people are getting freaked out. When people bring big guns and they show up, I don't care if they're just there to make a display of force. Not that sick people care about displays, but if it's just there to puff your chest out, why is it there? One team I saw was pulling up howitzers. Like, why do you need artillery? Seriously, yeah, that won't freak anybody out, right? That's the truth. We're being told we can't carry guns. The military gets called in, carrying the worst guns ever. No militias can be activated. But yeah, here's your new protectors, and I don't get it. I think it's one of those more popular militias. I wish I could remember the name of them. He said that they don't even need the National Guard, just to let them deal with it. And that's the thing. People, I think, are going to start pushing back. They're going to say they don't need people's help. And I think it's going to happen. I think the start of it was kind of with the shelters. And then I think there's going to come a point when people either start setting up quarantine zones, or they start setting up roadblocks, or they're going to set up checkpoints in the U.S. And these, military guys or patriot guys, it's just not going to be good. They're not going to take it well. And that's where people are pushing back against themselves. I think that's a real fear that they have to worry about. And I think it would be stupid not to realize that there are actually ex-military guys out there that don't already have a plan either. Like, they haven't been training for their whole life, and this is just another day at the office. Like, for a lot of people, even not military guys, they're ready to go. I mean, this is what they live for. I mean, they buy all these ration packets, they've never been able to use them, and now here's your opportunity. So why not, right? So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. Harvey, do me a favor, put up that poll. I want to ask everyone who is armed or wants to be armed in this, and how about if you're just ready to go? Who plans to join a militia, an ex-military, or already part of some private military, or any of you guys that have a plan? Let us know, because that's the stuff that's big right now. Put it out there. We'll hit up the results. But until then, we're going to cut to a commercial. We'll be right back to discuss.